All right, folks, we are back with the 2021 season previews for each of our 8 franchises. I'm Rudy Lyon, the host of Dirtyard Dish, and today we're going to be talking about my Yakkers and the upstart Hackers from last year. These two teams faced off against each other in the wild card round of the playoffs, where pitcher Alec Buckman and National Rookie of the Year Alec Buckman diced up our hitters and beat us in a do-or-die playoff game. I'll be reviewing these two squads who happen to be playing each other on their opening night on Tuesday, May 11th. So sit tight and we'll get you going with everything you need to know about the Yakkers and the Hackers.
I can't wait to get back on the road again. Back again. Dude, like for the baggers. Back home again. Back home again. In Indiana land.
So I'll start us off today talking about the Hackers, give you a little lowdown of what happened in 2020, and then look forward to what we expect from them in 2021. So last season, they had a 7-17 record and ended their year on a second-round loss to the Shorts. After, like I mentioned, they beat the Yakkers, I believe 8-1 in that wild card game. Was really never close from the start. Alec Buckman really had his best stuff on the bump, and he was certainly the highlight of that 2020 season, getting him into the league and playing wiffle ball for the first time. He's pitched in baseball leagues before, and it translated really well into wiffle ball after learning a few secondary pitches beyond his really good fastball that he keeps low in the zone. So I guess looking forward to 2021, there's a lot of pieces moving around here with this squad. Looking back to last year, we had the Kyle Gagliardi experiment or experience that failed for the Hackers as he's bounced around to a couple other franchises, namely the Outlaws, and now he's a Noodler. And then just this offseason, we had Michael Plord, who decided to withdraw from the team and enter free agency. He is now a pork pistol. And then new additions, key player additions to this team. The second overall draft pick in the free agent draft, we had a young man by the name of Alex Gerchev, who showed up to our tryout, or I guess it was more of a combine of sorts. Where we got to see his hitting and pitching on display, and the Hackers liked what they saw and chose to take him since he's going to be able to bolster their pitching staff a little bit. And then they also added Cade Luker recently, who we don't know anything about. He is a free agent form sign-up and has been added via the waiver wire, and I believe Coach Eric Stark has added maybe one or two other players on top of the roster that they have in tow from last year. And as I mentioned, Stark, I think, honestly, he is this wild card player. I know you could say that the new additions, they'd be pretty wild card since we know very little about them. But Eric Stark, we do know a little bit about. He's, I think, entering into his third or fourth year, second year as the Hackers manager, and he loves this league and he loves the game, and we love having him a part of the league. And he's going to be at the middle of the offense, defense, pitching, and some way or another. He's kind of the do-everything guy for the Hackers. He pitches a little bit. He can provide some pop at the plate. He's definitely given my squad some headaches with hitting some clutch home runs, particularly in a swing-off last year, an extra inning loss for the Yakkers. And I think the question I have to ask for the manager, Stark, is can he provide that consistency of being able to do everything? And also, can he step up his defensive game, because I'm sure he's going to get some more play in the outfield as they lost the reigning defensive player of the year in Michael Plord. Already, Plord was kind of the bandage over the wound of the defense of this team last year that kind of left pitching performances from Buckman and others out to dry. Holden Palmer, also to name another great pitcher for the team. Not sure if he's going to be on the roster or not. But they're going to need to be able to catch the ball cleanly in the outfield, out of the air, and field balls cleanly to keep offenses at bay, because I wouldn't say defense is the strong suit of this team, and losing a guy like Plord is huge. The strength, though, as I've talked about quite a bit in this podcast already and some other podcasts previously, is Alec Buckman. I'll speak so highly of him, and you all get sick of hearing about it, but he showed so well at the national tournament for us as a league. Really just put a stamp on his 2020 coming out party, and he is going to be a stalwart in this league and nationally in wiffle ball as long as he's able to keep his arm healthy. And I know that's going to be a huge priority for the Hackers this upcoming season. And so they will go as far as he can take them. He is proud to be a Hacker. I know some guys of his caliber would maybe want to move on from a team that finished 10 games under 500, but he said, no, I'm sticking with it. We want to make a comeback and bring this team up to higher ranking. So good for him to be loyal like that. And I know that carries over to his personality as well outside of wiffle ball. I already mentioned the questions about defense. The pitching depth, will Gurchev be able to provide that bolstering of the pitching rotation like I mentioned? Is Stark going to be able to still perform on the mound as he has in previous seasons? And will these new guys, are they going to be able to pitch some as well? So a lot of questions there. And another one is, and I know that the Hackers have gotten some critique and some flack for this, but just game strategy. At times, they have put seven players, I think, max in their lineup, and just for wiffle ball, you play baseball, you have 9 guys in the lineup. Wiffle ball, you probably don't want any more than 5 in a lineup, just so you can turn the lineup over more quickly and get at bats for your top tier hitters to get adjusted to a pitcher, especially if they're one of the elite pitchers, because you just need to see pitches and work on your timing and see the break of all these pitches from these great pitchers. And if you're only getting 3 to 4 at-bats a game with a 7-player lineup, it's going to be a tough day for your offense, to be very frank. So with all that in mind, I've got, unfortunately, the Hackers taking a step back this year. I think losing Plord is huge. It's a lot bigger than what maybe other people would say on paper, but he is a quality stick. He's a glue guy, great defender, and I don't think they addressed that hole in defense. I know Buckman will be getting a lot of innings on the bump, and he's going to be able to provide some wins, but we've almost got like a Jacob deGrom situation if you follow Major League Baseball, where he's been a stud and so dominant on the mound for the last handful of years, and just notoriously does not get run support from the New York Mets offense. So hopefully I'll be wrong about that. I'd love to see Buckman get some more wins as he keeps his ERA sub-3 like he did last year. But ultimately I see this team finishing in 8th place as the Outlaws went from last, and they made some improvements that I think cannot be ignored. So got him at 8th, want him to prove me wrong, just like I want all these other teams to kind of have a chip on their shoulder and prove me wrong. So now we move on to the team that I manage, the Yakkers, with their season preview. But before I do that, actually, maybe give some explanation, because this podcast is consisting of the 2 teams that probably have the weirdest names in the league. Maybe you'd say noodler. What's a noodler? Well, that's a term for fishing, obviously. Maybe you didn't know that, so maybe it's not so obvious. But Hacker just kind of went with the theme of taking hacks with the bat. If you couldn't put that together, there you go. So they have like an axe as their logo. And then my Yakkers, we use the yak, the beast of burden animal, kind of as our symbol, but a yakker in terminology is baseball slang for a curveball. So makes sense for a game like wiffle ball where the ball curves a lot. But I digress. Moving forward, though, Yakkers, this is my 4th year managing the roster. We came into the league in 2018 after my rookie year in 2017. Had 2 winning seasons in 18 and 19. Made the World Series in 2019, and then we kind of took a fall off a plateau last year with a 9-13 record, and we lost in the play-in round versus the Hackers. So get to open up against this team, be a little bit of a payback night, hopefully. Get some vengeance as we won the regular season series against the Hackers, but as mentioned again before, Buckman really killed us on the bump and shut us down and sent us packing for the offseason. So I will say that 2020 was a frustrating year. I mean, just in terms of the world, it was frustrating, obviously. But for some reason, that also it made life difficult with injuries on this team. I had some injury struggles. Ryan Vogus had a dragging arm there for a little bit. One of our pitchers who was on the roster, the World Series roster the year before, Dave Bailey, was the number 2 pitcher. He was having knee problems and has since decided to retire. Matt Neese was having some lower body struggles as well. So I'd like to think that if everyone was in better health, we would have been over 500. But if I'm being completely honest, probably not any more successful than that. Maybe a couple rounds deeper in the playoffs. But it was a frustrating, disappointing year. I'm looking to move beyond that. And 2021, the off season, it was kind of a rebuild in a lot of ways. We've had three players from last year retire or decide to move on, and so that kind of forced me as the manager to come up with a different acquisition strategy. And rather than going through my pipelines and trying to invite people into the league, it's more now as the league is more established, you want to bring in more established players for the sake of competing. And now that there are other outlets to play varying levels of wiffle ball in Indiana and even in Indianapolis specifically, it's just time to do something new here in year 4 with the Yakkers. So first step, I guess, in that rebuild was giving up our 2nd overall pick in the free agent draft. We had the number 2 pick since we finished 2nd to last, which is going from 2nd to 7th is no fun in 1 year. But the cupboard wasn't bare. We still have Ryan Vogus coming up from Northwest Indiana. And he and I were actually the only 2 rostered players before this draft. So I felt it was necessary to trade that pick, dangle it, and try to get more picks later. So gave up the number 2 to the Hackers, where they picked up Gurchev and in exchange for the number 3 and the number 10. And in that, we got a couple quality players out of the deal. So moving forward into 2021, the number 3 pick, or the first player off the board for us, was CCW veteran Sawyer Mitchell. He's a great hitter. He batted in limited ABs, had a 400 average. He can pitch a little bit. It's maybe his best years for pitching are behind him, but he can definitely get the ball to the strike board if we need to eat some innings. And it's always good to have a plethora of guys that can throw. So also worth noting, Ryan Gallagher was drafted, and he's also a Northwest Indiana guy. I think he was a 2nd-round pick, maybe 14th overall, somewhere around there. He's played in multiple leagues up in Northwest Indiana and is going to be a good carpool buddy with Ryan Vogus as they come down I-65 to Indianapolis to play. Don't know if his availability throughout the whole season, but I know he's interested and wants to get down here to Indy to play a little bit and get the CCW experience. I think our wild cards this year, Dustin Dowden, who was a great addition, one of those pipeline players that I've known for a handful of years. He's a baseball player in college up at Anderson U. He pitched up there. He was able to fill in as our number 2 pitcher, kind of either a 1A, 1B, or for most of the season, considering my shoulder problems, not being able to pitch as well. But he came in, threw strikes, worked on a couple new pitches, really picked it up and loved it. The wild card in him, though, is that he had off-season labrum surgery. So he's obviously not going to be pitching this year. You pretty much have to table your shoulder for a year after that. And the question I have, and he's going to give it a shot here to start, but can he hit? Because he was still a great hitter, very serviceable. Took a handful of balls over the fence, a few of them on fast pitch too, off of guys like Christian Leffler, which was super impressive. That was in his first career game as well. So he's going to be a key piece in the middle back end of the lineup. Still looking forward to having him on board. He's a great just teammate in addition to the team, regardless of whether he's able to pitch or not. And then maybe replacing his arm in a way, it was another guy we added in free agency after the draft, is John Duran. And he comes with a handful of years of wiffle ball experience already. He played in a league in the Chicago area. He just relocated to Indianapolis and heard about our wiffle ball league and still loves the game in his late 20s and wanted to get involved. So we were number 2 on the waiver wire. I saw his stuff, nothing video, nothing pitching wise, but I know that he was a college athlete, played football and baseball, and also in his bio he said he had played a handful of years of wiffle ball in Chicago. So happy to have him on board, excited to see what he's got, see if he's still got some left in the tank. I'm sure he will, and then maybe he'll bring a quality bat too. I think the strength, now this is kind of a low-key thing, but the strength in this team right now is that we're coming off of a down season, and there may be some underestimation in this roster. I am actually very, very satisfied with where this roster is currently. I think I would not have said that probably a month ago or around the free agent draft, but the way that things fell, I'm really excited. And it's obviously a huge plus when you get a guy like Dowden who's still possibly going to be able to hit. But we're going to have a good core group of guys in Indy that'll be able to be there on a nightly basis, and then we have guys from Northwest Indiana who are going to come down and bring their arms and their bats and going to make us that much better from time to time, and we'll get them playoff eligible. So with a veteran like Mitchell, coupling his red beard with mine, going to be a dynamic duo. Can't wait to see him in the Yakker blue this year along with me. He'll probably be mistaken for brothers or twins from time to time. Duran, Dowden, Gallagher, Vogus. I think it's gonna be a pretty decent squad, and I'm excited to see where it goes. The question I do have though, and this has kind of been the bugaboo, and the Yakkers have been middle of the pack, or at least last year was really middle of the pack in terms of stats. We weren't able to get 3 of our games in, I believe. We had to forfeit some and then do a forfeit split with another team. But nonetheless, our power numbers specifically were very low. I think I may have had close to half of the team's home runs. We just kind of would scrap across runs with situational walks and a lot of singles and doubles, and then the occasional home run. But if you're looking at teams that are at the top of the heap in CCW, they're getting upwards of 40, 50 home runs in a season. And we, I think, had less than 30, maybe like 20, 27, 28. And we just got to find ways to take advantage of the lob pitch, especially, and send the ball over the fence and hit, still be hitting bombs on fast pitch as well, which I know those numbers have dropped league-wide, but as the pitching has developed and we depend more on the slow pitch. But I'm excited to see what power numbers Mitchell can bring. Vogus will be steady when he's around, and we'll see what Gallagher, Duran, and Dowden can bring on the back end. So right now I'll predict my Yakkers for 5th place. I think that is somewhat conservative and safe, but I would not be surprised at all if all the pieces are there together that we can perform at a higher level than that and get into the top half. So, and who knows, maybe we'll mess around and get to the Dirtyard Classic. That does it for episode 3 of our team previews for the 2021 CCW season. Everything you could have possibly wanted to know about the Hackers and Yakkers in this episode. And upcoming, the 4th and final installment of our team previews with the Moonshots and the defending champion Noodlers. So check that episode out later this week and continue to check us out on Dirtyard Dish on YouTube all season long.
I can't wait to get back on the road again. Back again. Dude, like front of baggers. Back home again. Back home again. In Indiana land.